this time of the year, and we're talking about the joy, where we find our joy. And I know this time of the year is that coming back to home and heading back home. And Christmas is that season of hopefully going home or having your kids come back or going to grandma and grandpa's for Christmas. And there is just something about being home that I hope for many of you does fill your life with joy. I remember about a year and a half ago, the summer of 2017, I made a rare trip of going back home to Boise, Idaho. And as a family, we drove all the way out to, stopped at Salt Lake City and then up to Boise for about 5-6 days. Actually, it was a week we were up there visiting my folks. And before that time, I think it was like 11-10 years since last time I was in Boise, Idaho. We made treks out west a lot. My sister lives in Denver, Colorado, and that's usually where we go. And then my parents will come down, my sister will come down from Idaho, and we'll just kind of meet there in Denver. But we haven't really made too many trips out to Idaho. And so it was nice for myself and taking my family. It was nice to go back home to Boise. And my parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. And just to be in those familiar setting, got filled with lots of nostalgia. Just going around Boise and just seeing the sights. And it's one of those things where there's still a lot of things the same. There's also a lot of things that are different. But we see that sameness, just filled with those memories, those good memories, and that joy of being home. And the reason why being home is a joyful thing is because, again, home is where your family is. Home is the place where you're safe. Home is the place where you're loved and you're accepted. And home is the place where you can put your foot up, let your hair down. It's like you can get comfortable and be in that place and just walk around and just say, this is home. This is a happy place to be in. But it's also very different. And I think that's the thing about going back home. You can never, ever, always entirely go back home. You know what I mean? The nostalgia, the memories that made me happy, it was really just the memories. Like I said, a lot of things were different. All those things were the same. One thing about my parents, they don't really get rid of anything in their household. I'm sure you got parents like that. But in fact, I was just looking through drawers, and my parents have, usually one family has one junk drawer. I think my parents have like 10 of them, actually. But one particular drawer, I just opened it up, and first of all, the smell comes up. I can't describe it. It's not musty, or it's not a bad smell. It's just this home smell. I don't know, and just the smell, like, wow, that takes me back. But I looked in the drawers, and I don't think anyone's been in it for 10 years. That's probably why I smell it. It's the same stuff that was there when I was a kid. In fact, I found an E.T. nightlight in there that we bought back in the early 80s, probably. It's just stuck in there. Actually, I think we should go back. There might be some good stuff in there. eBay's calling, but they even have old record players. Did you guys remember, like, vinyl record players in one of the drawers? I don't think they have a record player anymore, and they sell these old record players. But the banks are not here. They actually have Neil Diamond's Hot August Night. Neil Diamond's Hot August Night. That's one of the records. Anyway. But what I was just saying, you can never ever go back, because what I really want to go back to is 5-year-old Drew back at home. 5-year-old Drew who has 2 loving parents who take care of him. 5-year-old Drew who has no responsibilities. I don't have any bills to pay. I don't have any worries. My future's all ahead of me. I can sleep in, and when I get hurt, I can cry, and someone's there to rescue me and help me. And that's really what the home I want to go back to. And it doesn't matter how often I go back to Idaho, I'm not going to go back to the life. And I think, so there's that little bittersweetness, the little sadness, I guess, if you will, that you're happy to be home, but it's just never going to be the same. And that's the thing about joy, though. There are going to be many moments in your life that you're going to be filled with joy. Those little moments of your life that are just great excitement, great joy. And you can think back to those moments, and you kind of wish, I wish I could go back to those. I wish I could go back to the moment of holding my child for the very first time. What a joyful experience. I'm not gonna go back to that time. I can't go back to that. I don't think Heather wants to go back to that time. But your marriage, the baptism of your child, your first grandchild. I mean, all these little segments of things that give us joy, but and then we can't go back, so we look for the future. What else can give me joy? And it always comes this race of how can I get more joy? How can I get more happiness? And it's here today, it's gone tomorrow. But as a Christian community, really given to the world, is a joy that we find in Jesus that will never end. In fact, this joy in Jesus in time, especially when He returns and He will gather us all together, this joy will be new every single day. But even in the meantime, we can have that joy and maybe it more like that peace that passes all understanding that's in Jesus. That's why today we light the third candle. We light as a pink candle. That in the midst of the purple, in the midst of our struggles, in the midst of our repentance, our stresses, our sorrows, whatever that may be in your life, in the midst of all of that, there is joy. There is peace. And it's not some old memory. It's not some past experience. But it's here and now. Because it's found in Jesus. The story I want to share with you, kind of similar to that, is, again, going back to the Israelites, and this is my last kind of summing things up, closing things up with the history of Israel. And again, kind of going back after the King Solomon, the kingdoms were divided, and eventually in time those were conquered by the Syrians and by the Persians, and kind of what I talked about last Sunday with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the Israelites have lost their home. They lost the temple, they lost the Ark of the Covenant, everything is destroyed, and now these people, the Israelites, are scattered in exile in Babylon, with no home, with no heritage or cultural identity. All of that was lost in Jerusalem and in Judah. But there was a remnant. There was a few that remained faithful to God. Again, like the example was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Another example is Daniel. In fact, all this is recorded in the book of Daniel, how he also remained faithful. Even when it was outlawed for him to pray to God, to Yahweh, he continued to pray. And he too was thrown in the lion's den, not a furnace, but he was thrown in the lion's den, but God shut the mouths of the lions and preserved him. And there's a lot of people like Daniel or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, a lot of people who remained faithful to God, wanting to go back home, wanting to go back to Jerusalem, wanting to go back to the temple or to restore the temple. And in time they will. And that's kind of where the history of the Israelites ends in the Old Testament with Nehemiah and Ezra, two leaders, Jewish leaders, who were sent back to Jerusalem by decree of the king, that the Israelites can start making their way back. And it becomes a series of migrations from Babylon and Persia to head back to Israel, to Jerusalem, to restore the city. And there's great history of them rebuilding the wall and how there was a lot of conflict and a lot of people were against them, but they were excited to finally come back home and restore the city. In time, the temple will be rebuilt. The second temple after Solomon will be rebuilt. It won't be all that great because the inheritor might come by and build it a third time, but they do rebuild the temple, and they try to get back to what home was like for them. But kind of like me, it just won't be the same. Because really what they want to get back is to the days of David or King Solomon, the glory days of the Israelites. And it just won't be like that. They will never be a sovereign state again. They will always be ruled by another empire. The Greeks will eventually come, and next one the Romans will come. They will always be subjected by someone else, wanting and hoping and praying for the consolation of Israel, that Israel will be redeemed. And even though they were back home, they weren't really. But what they looked forward to was the future. They waited on that promise of God, that He will send the Messiah. And the Messiah will finally restore the house of Israel. The Messiah will come to give them that everlasting home. But it's not the home that we expect. The thing about my home, it was great to go back, and again, I had a lot of great memories and adventures, things I did with my sister. I was typing piano around. I was one of those really interested in my family history. I think Millie was a little, But I was rolling around, say, hey, this is where my school was. It's now a vacant lot. But hey, no, this is my school here. And then I take it to another place. Oh, this is where my junior high used to be. It's a vacant lot. It's a building torn down now. Actually, there's another building. But I used to, all the places I went to school is torn down. My high school's still there. Then I take around my house, like, hey, this is where my sisters, we would go in the basement and build a little fort down in the basement. So we used to play in the backyard, all these things we did. But there's also some bad memories, or it wasn't a perfect home. We had fights, we had arguments, we had the teenage years, we had disagreements. There was some bad stuff. We weren't a perfect family. Not horrible stuff, nothing illegal, nothing criminal, but it's just like every other family. We had our moments. It wasn't a perfect home. And that's the thing about trying to create that perfect home here. We try. We do everything for our children. We do everything for our families to make it safe and loving and happy place. But I know there's a lot of homes here that are hurting. We have broken marriages. We have sickness and diseases. We have death in the homes. We have struggling incomes and finances. And I know there are some people here that don't really have a home to go to because it's a scary place. It's a broken place. It's an upsetting place. And maybe you don't have a fond memory of your home. And my point is that the homes here, this is not where our home is. And like those Israelites, as they waited for that promise, we wait for that promise too, but it's in Jesus. He did come. And He did come to give us an everlasting home. It's just not in this place. And that home is yet to come. This is why I like to share is in funerals especially. I read John 14 and Jesus shares with His disciples in the chapter there. He's reassuring them. He says, don't worry, trust in me, believe in me, because I'm going to go and prepare a place for you, a place with many rooms. And I like to share that, especially at funerals, to reassure our families who are hurting right now that their loved one is gone to their perfect home. Finally, the place where there's no more sadness, no more tears, no more sin, no more death, no more sickness, no more old age, none of that stuff. But it's actually the home we've been trying to get back to most of our lives. In the meantime, what about right now? Right now, we do have a home. that we can build in Jesus. That we bring Jesus into our families. We bring Jesus in our Christmas celebrations and traditions. We bring Jesus into our home and have him dwell there. I know they're not perfect. I know we struggle. I know we make mistakes. But that's why we need to bring Jesus into our place. Because that's where we find healing and forgiveness and mercy. Our reading from Luke today, I think it's such an important account about John. You know, last time we talked about John as the one who prepared people for Jesus to come and calling people to repentance and baptizing them and reassuring them that there will one who will come mightier than him, that even he's not worthy to untie his sandals. And now John's in prison, and he's beginning to doubt himself. He's beginning to doubt the whole thing. And I'm convinced John is scared. I'm sure he's frustrated. I'm sure he's sad of what's happening to him. Because I think John knows he's not getting out of prison alive. So what does he do? He sends his disciples to Jesus. He just asks that simple question, just to be sure. Jesus, you are the one, right? And what does Jesus tell his disciples? Tell John what I've been doing. I've been healing the sick. I've been giving sight to the blind. I'm making the lame walk again. I'm restoring all the things that are broken. And even it doesn't say so, but I'm sure when the disciples get back to John and share and remind John of what Jesus has been doing, even though he was in prison, even though he was on death row, John had that joy that Jesus was going to restore his home. And that's the joy of Christmas. It's really what we celebrate every year. Jesus has come, and he's bringing us, finally, bringing us our eternal home. Amen.